Okay, so we'll move on to the first exercise here. This will be the temple modeling from the Maya tutorial material, and to get to that you can go to the help menu and then find the link called tutorials. I also put the link in the lesson plan, but if I just click here we will get this to pop up. And you can see it has links to HTML versions in English, Chinese, and another type of Chinese. And then the lesson files are available as a zip file, which is essentially Maya project directory structure. We don't need that for the first exercise, but we'll need the reference image for the cracker box for the second one. But I can extract it for you if you don't want to download it. If I click here for the getting started with Maya 2014 in this case, I will get this, and then the first exercise is in the Maya basics, and it's called creating, manipulating, and viewing objects, and the introduction here. So this is what we want to build, more or less. And you can see there is a few steps. You have to know that the Maya tutorial lessons has a tendency to be very detailed, and they will try to get you to use a lot of tools. That's of course very nice in terms of getting to know the program, but it's not. You should be aware that it's not necessarily the fastest way to get to the end. I've done this exercise a couple of times, obviously, through the years. So I'm not going to follow it step by step. I'm going to do this in a fairly fast manner. So some of the things I do might be slightly different to what is covered in the step by step, but it will more or less be the same. But here you can see we'll have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-sided platform, which will actually be a step. Then we'll have 8 pillars. We will have like a lining up here, and then we'll have like a roof, essentially. And the pillars will have like a rounding here at the bottom, and these cubes that will define the bottom of the pillars. Okay, so I'll go ahead. You can follow the step by step, but I'll just do it my own way. As I mentioned, I like to turn off the interactive, so I have turned off the interactive. This is important for making this work, and as far as I remember, they also tell you to remove the interactive setting in the tutorial. So be sure to do that, both for polygons and for NURBS. So the first thing we'll need is a cylinder. There we go. And I'll just create a cylinder and then tweak it later. In the tutorial they like you to create the cylinder using the option box and then set the settings like they want it. The problem with that is that it will remember those settings for the next time you create a cylinder, and I don't necessarily want to create a big flat thing. So I just create the default one, and then in my attribute editor I go to the thing called polycylinder, and in here I can change exactly the same thing. So I think it has to be like 10, and then the height of 1, and the subdivision axis should be 8. So this is more or less what we had in the other one. And then depending on your preference, some people don't like the fact that it's located in the ground, and since it's 1 high and it's midway through, then I need to go to my transform here, and I'll just need to raise it by half, and then it's on top. To create the one on top of this, I can do a duplicate, or I can do a duplicate special like they do. So I'll do that. So I'll just select this one, go to edit, duplicate special options, and in here I can change different things. So I want to translate this up 1 so that it'll be on top. I want to scale this in the X and Z dimensions, but not in the height. So it's like 0.8 maybe. and then go duplicate. It wants to create one duplicate, which is fine, and there you go. Yeah, maybe that was too small. Oh, never mind. Maybe it was 0.9. I can't remember. I'll just, because this is sort of difficult to see, I'll turn on wires on anything. So now it's easier to see what I'm doing. Actually, I forgot something. I needed to rotate this for the modeling later in the process to be easy. And this is something that happens quite frequently, that if you think ahead, you'll know that by just doing a thing slightly differently early on, you'll make life a whole lot easier later on. The thing is, when I want to place the pillars, I would like to do that in the top view. I'd like to do it like one pillar here and one pillar here. But right now they're at an angle, so it will be like rotating them and putting, it'll be a pain. So what I'll do is I'll select both. And in this case I'll go to my channel box and I want to rotate this just a little bit here. So I think, is it 22? Oh, I can't remember, so I'll just rotate. And I'll see it's about there. And if I just go to top view, spacebar, click on the Maya logo, and then go there. And I can see I just turned it slightly too much. I just turned it like there. So 22.5 will be the right one. That just happens to be half of 45 degrees. That is half of 90 degrees. That is quite amazing. Oh, by the way, Maya wants this to be a period, so it won't use the comma sign on the numerical most of the time. So, see, because I used the channel box, I was able to change it on both of the objects at the same time. So that made the whole thing a lot easier. Okay, so next step is to create a prototype of a pillar. So the first thing I'll do is I'll create a cube. I just grab it from my shelf here, so there, and then I'll need to move this up, and I want this to be half height. So in this case I'll just scale it. I could also change the height here, so I could make this in half, but in this case I'll just scale it. So I'll set the Y scale to 0.5, and then I'll just look at it here and I'll move it down until the lines disappear, and you can see, oh, it just goes inside there, and I can see it's 2.25. Oh, 2.25. There you go. So right now it's right on top. So that's because this is 1, 2, and then half of a half, so 0.25. Then on top of this, I want to create a cylinder, so I'll grab a cylinder. There we go. I'll just drag this up. This is slightly big. I'll make this 8 subdivision axes going around. I'll make the radius 0.6 maybe. Oh, that's too big. 0.3. Yes. Move this. Maybe make the height 4. And then I just need to place this. I'll just leave it like so. Grab this cube here and go to edit, duplicate, and then just, that will create a copy right on top of the original. So just drag that up, place that up here, there. And then I need to create the little roundy thing here. That will be created with the NURBS. So make sure that you have turned off interactive creation for the NURBS as well. And go and create a sphere. Grab the move tool, drag this up. So you can see it's slightly too big. Now the trick here is that the make NURBS sphere part here in the channel box or in the attribute editor has something called an end sweep. So if I change that, you can see it's set from start sweep from 0 to end sweep 360. So you probably guessed that this has to do with degrees. So if I turn this down, I'm doing this by middle mouse button clicking in the viewport. When I have one of these selected, I can turn it down. So of course I want this to be 180. And then I want to rotate this, so I'm going to select that, select my rotate tool. In this case I'll hold the J key. The J key will make discrete rotation work, so it'll snap in 15-degree steps, so something like that. There you go, and then I'll just move it down. And if I'm smart, I'll actually select this line here, so that the Y-axis is the one that is active. Then I'll hold the V key for snap to point, and then middle mouse button drag to this point over here, and you can see that it snaps to the vertical position, because that was the axis that were active, to that point. So now it snapped exactly there. And I can just use the scale here, or I could use the radius setting here to change how big I want it. In this case, I'll use the radius first. You can see it's popping a bit, and then I'll use the scale tool to just flatten this out, so I get something like this. Maybe just make it slightly bigger, something like that. Okay, it looks better if I turn off the lines here, so it gets a nicer look. Anyway, okay. So this is a pillar, and now I'll open up my outliner. So I grab the outliner out here, outliner and perspective. And you can see here I have all of my elements separately. So I have the first cylinder, which is the base. Second cylinder, that is the one on top. And I have my cube, my cylinder, a copy of the cube, and the NURB sphere. So if I grab these 4 elements here, and then I go to Edit, Group. See, what this does is it essentially in file system terminology, it creates a directory and places everything in it. So now I can, when I move the directory, I'm now moving the group, that is the group that is selected. I'll move the whole pillar. But if I click one of these, I'll move just that element inside the group. One thing you should be careful with is if you click something here, it will actually select inside the group, not the group itself. So you need to select it over here, or you need to select it and press arrow up to select the node on top in this case. Be aware that if you do something like this, which I see quite a lot, you're actually not selecting the group, you're selecting the elements inside the group. So right now you're moving the elements to some position, but the group is actually still down here, and that can mess up a lot of stuff. So I'll just undo that, put it back in position. Okay, so now we know that. We can name this and just double click it and go pillar 1 maybe. Okay, and I'll just close this up because I don't need to look at the things inside unless I want to make sure that I'm not selecting them. But anyway, so I'll pop to top view. And see, now it's much easier to place this because I rotated this before. So I'll just place this down here. Doesn't have to be 100%, but close, something like that. And then with the pillar selected, I'll go Edit Duplicate or Control D, and then I'll move it over. And you can see, since this is the x-axis, if I want this perfect, I can just add a minus in front of this, and it'll pop over there. Let's go back to perspective view, and you can see here I have these 2 pillars located nicely at one end of the platform. So I'll grab these 2 pillars and I'll group them, and notice that what happens when I group something, that the pivot point or anchor point or origin of that group will always be placed at the center of the universe. And this is something you can use a lot of times to create a reference point that is smart when you're doing something specific. In this case, I want to create the last 6 pillars, and when I create this group, I can just go to Edit, Duplicate Special option. I'll start out by resetting this because I want it to be back to nothing. Before it was scaling and everything, so that is an important step. And I want to create 3 copies of this, so 3 copies. And every time it makes a copy, it should rotate it 90 degrees. So I'll set the rotate around Y to 90 degrees. So the theory here is that it'll create a copy there, and a copy there. Bam, there you go. And this is a very popular way to create things. I'll just sidetrack here for a second. If I just create a cube, I'll move the cube out here, and I'll just shape this cube. Something like this. Yep, there we go. And then you can see it has a pivot point here at the center, like there. Okay, so that's fine. If I press the insert button, I can then move the pivot point somewhere else. I'll move it over here. I press insert again. So now the pivot point is over here. And if I then go to my duplicate special options, and I say I want to create 100 copies, I want it to move up half a unit, 0.5, and I want it to rotate 10 degrees. Maybe it should be 15 degrees every time it does that. So I'll just go duplicate, and you can see it does something like this. So you can easily create a thing, and it creates a bunch of nodes over here. So just undo this. So show you a different way. Okay. So for this, I'll just use a little trick here. So I have the cube selected, but it's hidden by all the other things. I could create a display layer to put them in and just turn them off. Or I can use show, isolate, select, view selected. So to turn everything except the selected off. And then I'll just go and change this again, make this into a staircase again. And in this case, I move it over here, like so, and then I'll group it. Control G, so now it's grouped to itself. And then in this case, I'll do this exactly same thing. I'll just reuse the duplicate special that I used before, but on the group instead of the geometry directly. And we get this, exactly the same, except that there's a group in between. Now the tricky and smart thing here is that if I now select everything, okay, and choose the move tool, I'm actually not selecting the groups, I'm selecting the object inside the groups. So if I do something here, you can see that this will, whoops, I need to set my move tool to local. There you go. When I do something in here, I'll actually affect each object inside its own world space, and I can then use that to like go, okay, I want to create a staircase that looks like this. We want it to be like, want it to rotate a little bit to create like a funky effect. Not the best stairs in the world. Something like, I need to set the rotate to local as well. There we go. So I can like do this. So this will be really hard to walk up these. Maybe like so. So you can do a lot of fun things. Oh, by the way, the reason why I'm seeing all this despite of the isolate select is that I had, no I didn't. Oh, interesting. I think this is an update in the later version. So if everything disappeared, you just need to select everything and then go turn view selected on and off again, and then you'll see it all. So this is one of the things that, that these group methods are very, very efficient to handle. Like duplication of a lot of things to create staircases and whatnot. So I'll just delete these and get back on track. So I'll turn off isolate select. There you go, and I'm back with my platform. Press F to center on everything. If I have something selected and press F, I'll center on that. Nothing, I'll center on everything. Then the final thing is I need to create the roof. And for the roof, I'm going to create a NURBS torus. There you go, and I'll move this up. And then for this thing here, I need to change some things. I need to make this the radius a little bigger. So something, I'll just go to top view and look at this in the wireframe. So I'll just make this slightly bigger, something like this, and then I make the height ratio smaller, like 0.1, something like that. Oops, go back to perspective. This looks fairly good. I'll just move this down. And if I right click and choose hull, I'll then get these guidelines. So if I click a hull here, and just affect just that. I'll grab this one, move that up, maybe scale that out a little bit, something like that. And then I need to move this down again, so I get this here. And then the final thing is I need to create a roof, and the roof is a sphere. Move that up, and again set the end sweep to 180. Then use the rotation J key, rotate J key, and then there we go. And then scale this up until it has the right size. And there, and then I'll need to scale this down slightly and then flatten it. And there you go. It's done. So that's a temple. Yep, done.